Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
The badass.
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
And right now is Like Mother, Like Murder's trial updates, where we will be providing daily coverage in the ongoing trial of Donna Adelson for the murder of Dan Markel. We've been covering this case for years now, and so far, 4 people have been found guilty in the plot to murder this father of 2 young boys.
And Donna Adelson, Dan Markel's former mother-in-law, is the latest conspirator to stand trial for this crime. Rachel and I will be continuing to provide coverage every day, and we'll be joined by special guests throughout this special series. We will be bringing you this every day that there is trial coverage, so let's do this.
So today is day 4 of the ongoing trial of Donna Adelson for the murder of Dan Markel. And today I have affectionately named it Bump Day because, y'all, it is Wednesday. It is Hump Day, but it is also Bump Day because today is the long-awaited day, especially for me, where we finally get into the bump, because this is where we really do see just how deep Donna Adelson's involvement goes. A lot of the other involvement we've seen of Donna so far has been pretty circumstantial, but once this bump happens, she in it and she in it deep. So we start the day off with Sergeant Corbett, where we left off yesterday. A poor man is still on the stand, but this man does so well. He holds his own. So if you guys remember from yesterday, he's like a communication specialist with the Tallahassee PD. And again, he's just going over all of the communications between the conspirators, alleged conspirators, and just all the back and forth between the tapped phone lines and just like everything going on. So one thing that I want to make sure, just to bring forth, because what I'm really trying to do is a lot of this testimony, a lot of this evidence we've seen before, but what I really want to highlight, is obviously this is Donna Adelson's trial. So I'm just going to go through a lot of this and summarize where it applies to Donna Adelson. So one thing that they're tracking is the first trip that Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera take to Tallahassee in June, where they do not they're following Dan Markel, but they do not actually commit the crime. So Katie and Sigfredo Garcia, they are in the process of renting a car, and after she's done doing that, she immediately calls Charlie. Charlie hangs up with her, and then less than a minute later, he calls the Adelson house, right? And then they get into there's many times like this, right, where it's just like it's this pattern of communications, right, where it's just like Katie to Sigfredo, and and then Katie to Charlie, and then Charlie to Donna, and we've just established this over and over and over again. And then they do bring up those communications to where the prosecution is talking about how the Adelsons have these quote unquote, Rachel loves it when I call it this because they're the worst code words in the whole world. But they start referring, Donna and Charlie are talking about Dad's 70th birthday gift. Yeah. And the timing of all of it is just so suspect. And they talked about this before at Charlie's trial, but when Sigfredo and Garcia had gone on that trip to Tallahassee in June, and they did not complete the murder, the next day they had returned to Miami. The next day, the following texts were exchanged between Charlie and Donna. So Charlie texts his mom and says, quote, "Still working on Dad's B-Day present," end quote. And Donna replies, quote, "I know it's a tough B-Day being 70 and all, and this is where it gets me, but I know you'll come through." Thumbs up emoji, kissy face with the heart emoji, mom. And it's just, Is this circumstantial? Yes, 100%. But the timing of it happening right after the first trip where they didn't do it, mixed with everything else, it's just so suspect. So, some other evidence that we also hear. Go ahead.
This is just me clearly being a hater and wanting to chime in a little bit, but it's one of those things too where like typically the guy's not the one planning this, right? Like, it's, yes, it happens. Yes, you can't say this is, just okay, that happens every once in a, but it's not as normal, and so for this conversation to be happening is bizarre.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So some other evidence that we hear from Sergeant Corbett that also, just really implicates Wendy, but I do want to bring it up because of where she was when she sent the messages. So Wendy is texting Dan about scheduling with the kids, some really basic co-parenting scheduling stuff that you would, anyone who co-parents would have these text messages on their phone. But she's sending them when she is down in South Florida with her parents. And it's specific to, hey, can I would like to have the kids this day. You're supposed to have them from this day to this day. And it is in the time frame of when he is going to be murdered. And so the fact that she sends those when she is down with her parents just not only allegedly, in my opinion, whatever, implicates her knowledge of something going on, but also, where she is when she sends it, she's getting this time frame, this information from somebody.
Yeah, there's conversations happening.
Exactly. And so allegedly. And so then again, we see similar pattern the night the car is rented in July before the murder of Dan Markel. Lots of back and forth between the already convicted conspirators, Kitty Banawa, Sigfredo Garcia, Charlie Adelson. And then again, right after all of that, we see Charlie calling his mom. And then so let's get into the communications the morning Dan Markel was murdered. Because there's a lot of back and forth among the family, right? There's a lot of stuff going on between Wendy and Charlie and Donna and Wendy and Charlie again. And then because that was the day of, someone coming to Wendy's house to fix the TV, a TV that Charlie had bought her, but that somehow, Donna had set up the Geek Squad to come fix, the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. And one thing that stood out for me in this trial was, because that morning there was also communication between Dan and Wendy. Dan had called Wendy at like 9 o'clock that morning, and the call didn't go through, but it went to voicemail. He left a voicemail on her phone. They play his voicemail, and it kind of broke my heart because they zero in on his dad when they're playing the voicemail for the court. And it was just like really heartbreaking. His dad's watching it up on the screen because they're playing the voicemail and they're also showing like the transcription of it. And it was just like kind of sad watching him hear his son's voice and while they play the voicemail. But anyway, they just kind of track all of the talk between Wendy and Donna and Charlie and all the back and forth. And then so at what we see is that basically there's a bunch of stuff going on, and then we know that or we can see through the evidence that when Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, right around the time that Dan Markel is shot, their phones are no longer pinging off stuff. Seemingly they shut their phones off, which we know from the stuff we've covered generally means killers turn their phones off when they're about to commit crimes, thinking, okay, maybe we can't get tracked. We all know like that we're able to figure things out besides that. But eventually, they're able to put the timeline together. And when Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia, when they commit the crime, They murder Dan Markel, and they start driving back to South Florida. Katie meets up with them, and of course, Katie and Charlie communicate. And then that day, right after Dan Markel's been shot, they pick up Wendy Adelson from her lunch with her friends, and then she places a call to her mother, right? We see this. We know that this happens where she goes, I'm going to call my mom and tell her, my ex-husband's been shot. She calls her mother and tells her mom. And this is where we heard, the other day where she's like, well, she seems surprised. That's a relief, right? Wow, that she said that. And then, a few minutes after that, Donna texts Charlie and just says, call us ASAP. And within the hour of that, Donna and Harvey are headed north. They're leaving their home, which is like South Florida, and starting to travel to Charlie's house. And I've said this before, the defense has not done a great job on cross. Today, I feel like they tried to do a better job when they cross-examined Corbett. But this man, he ran this shit. He knows his stuff. I mean, at various points, he was correcting the lawyers, saying, like, no, that's not right. Like, you're looking at the wrong slide. You're pulling up the wrong exhibit. Did you mean to say this? Did you mean to say that? And
yeah, I love that. And now I'm really sad that I missed out on some of that. I told Heather before we logged on, you guys, that today was the first day I didn't really sit down and watch all of it. I did read a little bit of stuff, but Heather is filling me in as much as she's filling all of you guys in right now. Yeah, I would have loved to see him say all of that stuff.
He's amazing. He's just a true professional and just really is on top of his stuff. And so he basically, the defense is trying to cross-examine him after he's done, after the prosecution is done with their direct. And basically, the defense is trying to say, hey, you're trying to say that, at the time of in June when when Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia had gone up there, and then in July at the time of the murder, you're trying to say that that the Adelsons were talking a lot, that Charlie and that Donna were having a lot of phone calls, but are you considering this a spike in a spike in frequency of them talking? And the guy was like, no, I'm just pointing out that they spoke, and that I'm not saying it's an abnormal amount in terms of the time of like the amount of calls. What I'm pointing out is that the number of calls is not abnormal, but the times that they called each other allowed for a potential exchange of information about what was occurring, and the timing of it and when things occurred is fucking suspect as hell. So like the cross, they thought they were getting at something, right? They thought they were saying, is 4 times a lot of times for Charlie to have talked to his mother in like a 24-hour period or whatever? And Sergeant Corbett's like, no, I didn't say that. And they tried to put like words in his mouth, and he's like, no, I'm not saying that. I was establishing that between those 4 calls, there could have been an exchange of information. And so, I mean, they thought they had him, but that man, he did the damn thing. And after 2 freaking days on the stand, they finally let him off the stand. And even the judge had like a you are finally free to go, Yeah, but then we get into it, Rachel. We get into the bump. And this is what I have been waiting for. I'm telling you, you'll have to go back and watch some of it. Really what you need to watch is the Special Agent Sanford. So he was the lead agent, and he testified. When they first start talking about the bump, they have the undercover agent who first approached Donna Adelson. And it is interesting because what they did, due to the nature of his previous job, they don't show this guy's face They show just like the bottom half of his body, because he was an undercover agent. They talked to him and just like what he did when he approached Donna. They talked to a couple agents who surveilled the Adelsons. They talked to the guy whose cover got blown. I don't know if you remember this, but I can't remember if it was Harvey or Charlie. I want to say it was actually Harvey who goes, it looks like there's like a listening device or like a camera in that bag. And they immediately got up and left. Yeah. And then they talked to some technical specialists who were like tasked with like cleaning up some of the recordings because they were all like in loud restaurants and stuff like that. But then they get into Special Agent Sanford, who they'll probably spend the majority of the day tomorrow also talking to because he has a lot of information.
Yeah.
And so they talk to this guy, and basically the big thing, and this is where we really get to see Donna's involvement, because
we all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more.
What he testifies to is that the first person that she calls after she's approached by the undercover guy saying, look, you took care of Katie, you took care of Tuto, and you need to now take care of Tato. And the first person she calls, Charlie, right? The first person she calls is Charlie. And of course, they talk about it in their weird roundabout way. But the main thing and throughout the trial, they play the entire conversations. And that day after she's approached, there's like 3 phone calls that happen between Charlie and his mom. Donna calls Charlie and tells him about what happened. And then Charlie calls her back. And then they talk some more. And then Charlie calls her again, like 15 minutes later. Like they talk like 3 or 4 times that day. And so in their weird roundabout way, they talk about it. But the damning thing, right, is that, she immediately calls Charlie. She doesn't call anyone else. She doesn't call the police. She doesn't call Harvey. And, he's asking her, and of course, she's not like saying outright, a man just approached me and he told me this, she's just saying, hey, I need to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And Charlie's he's trying to figure out, what do you mean? What is this about?
Right.
And he's like, are you being sued? And she's like, no. Is it the IRS? No. Does Dad know? No. Does it involve Wendy? And she really quickly goes, no. And then and this is where it's like, boom, smoking gun for me. Charlie asks, all right, does it involve me or other people? And Donna replies, well, probably both of us. And Charlie asks, what was that? And Donna replies, probably the 2 of us. So you probably have a general idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then about 20 minutes.
And they're playing the actual phone calls.
Yes, they're playing the full phone call.
Okay.
So you got to go back and watch this part.
Yeah,
because they're playing the full phone call.
Sure.
20 minutes later, Charlie calls his mom back, and he's still, like, Charlie's still not getting it. He's still, like, he thinks it's, like, they're getting sued. He's talking about, like, a Yelp review or something like that. He's thinking maybe someone's coming up and saying, maybe he's thinking someone comes up and saying, hey, you messed up my teeth or something. I don't know.
Right.
But she's, he's saying things like that, and she's like, well, I think you just better come over and you better take me out to dinner and bring cash. And then Charlie starts getting it. And he's like, wait. And he just straight out asks, are you being blackmailed? Is someone blackmailing you? And she's trying to use code, of course. And he's just like, who's blackmailing you?
Dude, he is not getting it. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
He's not getting it. And Donna, instead of answering yes, she goes, that's always a good possibility. Like, she won't answer, but he's, of course, asking these really just, like, straightforward questions. And then Charlie says, hey, if it's a threat, go to the police. And Donna's like, well, I don't think that's a good idea. They hang up. And then he calls back again. And then he starts asking these questions. Well, who was it who came up to you? You know, if he was threatening you, you need to go to the police. And she's like, well, I just want to talk to you first. And then he asks her straight up, okay, well, what did he ask you for? And this is, again, another just like smoking gun where it's like, Donna, you obviously were involved in this, because she says, and this is what she said exactly, the TV was probably about 5. Out of nowhere, so far during this whole entire day, the undercover agent, the 2 previous phone calls, all this shit, no one's talked about a TV since the day that Dan Markel was murdered. The TV was probably about 5. And then Charlie, in all his smartness, replies, they ask you for $5,000? It's like, so much for code, Charlie. Like, so much for code. And then Donna, she's the one then that tells him that, well, you know, they came up to me, they mentioned my son, and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then Donna actually tells Charlie, they mentioned an ex-girlfriend. And that's all she says. She doesn't give a name. She doesn't say it. She says they mentioned an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
They hang up the phone. Guess who the next
Yeah, the next phone call is to Katie. Yeah, duh.
100
I mean,
fucking percent, right?
It's just, yeah.
Exactly. And so the undercover agent mentioned Katie, right? The undercover agent mentioned Katie, but Donna never said Katie's name.
Right.
And we know from testimony.
Charlie got around.
Charlie, that's fucking right. Charlie got around.
It made me think of the Petey Pablo, like, Freak a Leak song where it's like, Shaniqua, Chandra, you know, like, all the different names. That's him. Yeah.
Mambo number 5, too.
Yeah.
It's just like, we know that, right?
Yeah.
And so Charlie calls Katie and he says, like, look, someone walked up to my mom, started asking for money, mentioned her son's ex-girlfriend. And Katie's response is like, the fuck? And then she even says, like, you've had 1,000 ex-girlfriends. What does this have to do with me?
Right.
And then they go on, and she's like, do you think someone's stalking your mom? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, you need to figure this out. Like, and she's basically like, I don't know what the hell you think this has to do with me. And then Charlie's like, I thought that they mentioned your name, when in fact they never had mentioned her name. And
that's because he was ringing. He was ringing up in his head. Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, they had never even actually mentioned Charlie.
Yeah, just son.
But Donna's first call was obviously to Charlie. They never mentioned Charlie to Donna.
Right.
They mentioned Katie, Tato, and Tuto. They never mentioned Charlie, but of course, Charlie was her first call.
Yep.
So, and then when she says ex-girlfriend, of course, Charlie's going to call Katie, because Donna and Charlie both know what they're fucking talking about, right? The other thing that I find interesting in this is, when they're talking about this, they're really also trying to make plans to speak and not tell Harvey. Donna's trying really hard not to let Harvey know about what's happening. Like, they're trying to keep it from Dad.
Yeah.
And they're also trying to, you know, they want to not involve Wendy in it. You know, they're saying, like, okay, because at this point in time, like, while this is happening, Donna has the boys. Like, you can hear the boys in the background of one of the phone calls.
Yeah.
And she was saying, like, well, I can't come see you today because I don't want Wendy knowing that I drove up to see you. Because then if the boys tell her, oh, we went to go see Uncle Charlie, she's going to have questions about why we went up there. So they're trying not to let Harvey know. They're trying not to let Wendy know. And so that's where we ended for today. But this bump, and like I said, this bump, everything up to this point, you can probably make an argument is super circumstantial. But once you do this bump, this is where Donna, it's a really hard to explain away any, you know, Donna's involvement in this.
Definitely.
Crime. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So tomorrow they'll bring back this FBI agent. He'll get back on the stand, and this Sanford, because he was the lead. I think he was actually the one who arrested Charlie, and I want to say he was the one who arrested Donna. So he'll be back on the stand, and he'll be the one to probably. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the stand all day tomorrow. He's going to be like Corbett. He's going to have a lot to do with this, and that's where we'll be. But yeah, this is the bump. This is where we're really going to see things start to move and shake.
Yeah.
With that real strong evidence again for Donna's involvement.
Well, I'm eager to watch tomorrow. I'm bummed that I missed that. It was one of those things where when I stopped watching this morning, I was like, it's okay for now, and I never got back into it. So I appreciate your update. I definitely want to go listen to those phone calls.
Oh,
tomorrow I'm back to being all in. So
yeah,
eager
you
for
have
it.
to listen because you're just like, oh my gosh. Like I was just sitting there, and I've heard snippets of it before throughout Charlie's trial, but you're just like, oh my gosh, these conniving people. And you're just like, you're sitting there, Donna's trying to use code, and Charlie's just like, they asked for $5,000. You're like, oh my God, Charlie, like you are just not the business.
Which is fine. So we love a dumb criminal.
Right?
Give yourself up.
Get caught, right? I know.
For sure.
So funny.
All right.
But we will be back tomorrow with day 5. We'll be talking more about the bump. We hope you guys are enjoying this daily coverage. We're going to keep bringing it because we're just like invested at this point, and we hope you guys are too. We're giving you 8 hours all the way down to, about 30 minutes, and we hope that this is helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Join us again tomorrow, and until then,
we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Oops, sorry. We're so good at this. It's like, take me out of my studio and I don't know how to work.
It's hard because it's not our normal.
I know.
Okay, do it again.
That's all right. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Okay, love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye.